began in 1347 would change medieval Europe more than any king or war ever could. If you love all things history, then don't forget to hit the follow. Year is 1347, and Genoese merchant ships have just docked in Messina, Sicily. Aboard these ships are rodents and fleas carrying a bacterium known as Yersinia pestis. A specific strain of bacteria is responsible for septicemic, bubonic, and pneumonic plague, diseases that are deadly to humans. So as the Genovese sailors prepare to disembark from their ships, so too do the rodents and fleas. Black Death, one of the most catastrophic pandemics in human history, has begun, and it will change the landscape of Europe forever. Before we dive into how the plague impacted Europe, it is important to know where it started. The earliest known victims of the 14th century outbreak of the plague have been traced to Central Asia, specifically the region around the Tian Shan Mountains in Kyrgyzstan. In the 14th century, this region was at the heart of the Mongol Empire, a major crossroad for global trade and movement. Plague outbreaks are reported in the Mongol Empire as early as the 1210s, and it is widely believed that a plague outbreak was present at the fall of Baghdad in 1258. In 1346, travelling along the Silk Road, plague reached the Black Sea and the Crimea, which is where the Genovese merchants that travelled to Messina in Sicily in 1347 pick up the disease. From Sicily, the plague would quickly spread to the Italian mainland, before being carried along trade routes into Marseille in France and across the Pyrenees into Spain. In 1348, a ship would leave Gascony and head to Dorset in England, then quickly spread to London. Medieval Europeans had no idea how the disease spread. In fact, it wouldn't be until an outbreak in China in 1860 that people put two and two together and realised the disease came from rodents. Black Death would plague Europe between 1347 and 1351, wiping out between 30 to 60% of the European population. Understandably, people were terrified. The rich abandoned the cities for the countryside. Isolation was enforced, since many believed that the plague was caused by God's wrath. The period witnessed a rise in spiritual devotion. Not everything was doom and gloom, as this 1562 portrait would have you believe. Rapid population decline led to a severe labour shortage. With fewer workers available meant that the peasants and artisans were able to demand better wages and working conditions. One contemporary account written no later than 1350 recorded that such a shortage of workers ensued that the humble turned up their noses at employment, could scarcely be persuaded to serve the eminent unless for triple wages. Land and resources became widely available, often was effectively brought to an end, and towns began to thrive, though it is important to note that some towns would never recover from the impact of the Black Death. There were better opportunities for women, even how people thought about the nature of death changed. Fortunately, many of these gains were only temporary. The attempts made by the upper classes to limit wage increases and tie peasants to the land lead to social tension and civil unrest like the Peasants' Revolt in 1381.